My name is Amy Sunshine Rodriguez. I have two kids, 20 and 15. My older son has a daughter that is 1 year old. I'm married. I have my mom and dad around, born and raised in Connecticut. I love the beach, so I love going down to the shore. I started having symptoms maybe 6 years ago. Very quiet, very light. I had lower back pain. My left lower back was hurting a little bit. Went to the doctor and he said, you're getting older, you're gonna have some pains here and there. And then I started having lower front pain. And I thought, this is a little more serious. Went to the gynecologist. They said, oh, maybe there's a cyst. It should take care of itself. We'll watch it, but we never really followed up. Cervical cancer does not run in my family. Never came to mind, never thought about it. But then a couple years later, I started having some irregular bleeding, which was very unusual for me. I was always normal, never had any abnormal pap smears. So I contacted the gynecologist and they decided to do a pap smear. And then that's when it came back that I had cervical cancer. When I received the news, I was actually at work. I was at my office and the doctor didn't even call me into the office. It was a phone call and she said something about adenocarcinoma, something. And when I heard her, my mind, everything just shut down. I couldn't even understand what she was saying because was this cancer? Of course, I started researching on the internet. I needed to know everything about it, and HPV kept popping up. And it kind of clicked where I said, that was what I read about several years back, and they never tested me for it. But here I am with cervical cancer now. I had never heard about HPV before. Maybe 10 years before I was diagnosed, I was reading a magazine in a doctor's office about a woman who had a rare cancer, which was cervical cancer. And they mentioned something about HPV, human papillomavirus, and they recommended being tested when you go see your gynecologist. And I said, okay, well, when I go, I'll ask. And when I went, I asked about the HPV test, and she said, you don't need to be tested. You've been with your husband since you were 18. You're not a candidate for it. And I said, okay. I trusted that was the truth. We got scheduled for a radical hysterectomy. I've never had a surgery in my life. I was terrified, but I figured I have to fight for my life, so I have to do whatever I have to do. Within 4 weeks of the radical hysterectomy, I started on a 7-week program of chemotherapy and 25 doses of radiation. While I was going through the treatment, I did a lot of soul searching. I had a lot of time to myself. I said, this is my mission. I'm here, I'm alive, and as long as I'm alive and I have a voice, I need to help other women. I need to help them not go through what I'm going through. During my treatment, I found that there was no support. There was no support in the area. I searched local hospitals for women's groups that were specified to cervical cancer because it's, everyone can understand the basics of going through cancer, but this was personal to me, and I wanted to discuss it with other people, women that were going through it, and that was hard to find. So I actually started the National Cervical Cancer Coalition, the Hartford chapter, after the fact. When I found out that I was cancer-free, it was about a year ago, and as horrible as the words were that I heard the first time about having cervical cancer, these were that much better. Hearing the words, we are considering you cancer-free, it was like I was gonna start doing cartwheels and jumping up and down right in the office. It was the best moment of my life. I instantly felt like I was no longer a number. I wasn't part of that group anymore, and I could start to rebuild my life and get my life back. The most important thing that I cannot stress enough, and I tell women every single day, when you go for your pap smear, ask for the HPV test. The two in conjunction with each other are so very important. With these tests, they can determine if you have abnormal cells, which could lead to cervical cancer. It's that easy, and that is the most important thing.